Okay. Hello, Heidi. Can we start? So wonderful occasion this evening to celebrate with Blessing, and a little bit more about that and what she's achieved later on. And warm welcome to everybody. And we would like to, okay, so I think we're going to start now officially, but I just would like to introduce everybody to Blessing Ibegbuna, who is our top IEB matriculant from 2022 class. And it's also, I think, a particularly special moment because that was Teneo's first grade 12 class with the IEB school. So we're very proud of you, Blessing. And like I said to you last week, I hope that you are very proud of yourself and that you've told yourself that on numerous occasions. Okay, so
I'm really proud.
Perfect. Thank you. And so this evening we're talking about our grade 12 2022 classes. So the Sakai cohort, we're our fourth matric group with the Sakai examination board, and we will go into a little bit of detail later on the level of results that were achieved. And then Blessing was the top of the class for the IEB grade 12 class, and she achieved 5 distinctions. So I think that is something to celebrate and honor, Blessing. And we're going to find out all about how you did that so we can share it with the next bunch of matrics so that they can also benefit from it as well. So most of all, congratulations to all the matrics who achieved what they did last year, and to their teachers. And I want to make a special note that it's not just their grade 12 teachers. A grade 12 student is the product of teachers who've taught them since the beginning. And each year a skill and a level of knowledge is laid, things get added each year by those teachers. And anybody who ever taught a matric from last year needs to take some credit for what was achieved by that student. At the end of the day, it is the student who must take the final responsibility, and then obviously the blessings that come with that. Okay. So, Blessing, could you tell us something about how you went about achieving what you did?
So to receive my marks, I practiced, I did a lot of past papers. I would speak to my teachers regularly, and I think it just all boils down to hard work and never giving up. You know, sometimes you study really hard and you don't get the marks that you want, and that can be quite the demotivation. But I think just working hard, doing your homework, practicing, just tuning your skills and honing everything, I think that really contributes to achieving good marks.
Okay. And when you talk about how do you deal with the disappointment when you've set yourself a target for something and you didn't achieve that?
I think just realizing that I'm human, especially if I've really put my all in. I don't really look at it as a failure. I look at it rather as an opportunity to grow, learn from it, just see what I can take from that experience and, make the best of it.
I love that response because I honestly think that too many of us beat ourselves up for not achieving, and we focus on what we didn't achieve rather than what we actually achieved. And it's an important part of the learning process And there are many people, in fact, there's a whole school of thought that says we should teach our children how to fail first before we teach them how to succeed and to pass, which sounds back to front, because at the end of the day, we really want everybody to achieve the best that they can. But I think it's also important that we take away from those, that when there is that disappointment, that we analyze it and we go, what went wrong? What went right? What did I learn from this? And to move on from that. And it's something I always ask my sons when they've played a match or they've written an exam. I'll always say, what did you learn? And it's that, oh, my timing, I should have got my timing right so that I could spend the right amount of time on the questions, or I should have worked harder at that section, or I assumed that I knew that bit of work better than I actually did. So really, I think that's important, and not to get stuck there, isn't it, Blessing? Not to get stuck at that sense of, I aimed for this, I didn't achieve it, but now I did. And then what is the end product is what you achieve, isn't it? And that, I think that's the other part that we need to help our students understand, is that that end product is accumulation of things as you move through. And you don't forget the stuff you did in first term. It's somewhere in that head, somewhere in that brain.
100%.
Absolutely.
All the year before, and all the way back to when you were born, you've been learning and you've been accumulating and adding. Nothing is ever unlearned.
Yes.
100%, yeah.
Right. And then you mentioned that you engaged with your teachers. So how important was that in the learning process? Because so often we can think that teachers are inaccessible or that they're not important to the role. So how important was that live connection to a teacher, even though this might be a virtual school, an online space? How did you get that to work for you?
So my teachers at Teneo, they were very open, always willing to go above and beyond to help me. And although we were learning in unconventional methods, being that we're learning online, in terms of my interactions with my teachers, it didn't feel that different from a traditional school. Our teachers, they would check in with us. They would ask us how we're doing, how we're coping with matric stress. We also had inbox, which we would use to chat with them. And just circling back to those live classes, I think when a teacher is passionate and extremely, dedicated to their subject, even though I'm learning through a screen, I don't really feel the difference, if I were in a physical school. So the passion literally radiated through the screen, and live classes, it was an opportunity for us to ask any questions, to ask the teacher, to repeat something that we may not have understood, and yeah.
And on that, so one of the advantages of the online space is the recordings. I'm interested to know
100%.
how you used the recordings and if they were of value. I know it's a tool that's there, but I actually want to know how you leverage that as well, and what use that was to you.
Yeah. So the recordings were invaluable in subjects like math, where I wouldn't understand a concept. I would literally watch that section that I wasn't understanding maybe 7, 8, 9 times, and on the 9th time it would click. And they were really useful. It was so nice, just before exams, I would just watch the lesson, get a nice recap. And they were absolutely, absolutely very useful.
So did you have a life last year?
I did. I think balance is important. You can't really do matric without balance. You need to have time for the things that you love. So for me, that was reading, doing a bit of yoga, and just taking a breather from the stress of matric. I think if I didn't have balance, if I didn't take some time apart from school, I think we would have gone insane, So yes, I did have a life. Not
so I'm interested,
very
what did
big,
you
but
read?
in life nonetheless. Sorry?
Yes, I'm interested. What name a book that you did read that was something that important for you last year?
So I read a book by Chinua Achebe. It was Things Fall Apart and Arrow of God. Yeah.
Okay. Yes. That was one of Chinua Achebe's Things Fall Apart was one of my grade 11 set workbooks. Yes, I know very well. Yeah. And interesting was it's one of those books that stays with you. It's a bit like Lord of the Flies and To Kill a Mockingbird and all those classics. I know it's a landmark book. Well done. And your advice to this year's Matrics on that balance, how to get that? Because there are always these voices, aren't there? You've got to study harder, you've got to do more work, and that's going to get you the success. Your advice to them about how to navigate that space?
So balancing can be quite difficult, and I've been fortunate to have my family who support me. You know, I'd be studying for a really long time, and my father would say, "Relax, go to bed. You know, you'll continue to more in the morning." So my advice for the Matrics would be just know that it is possible. You know, 15 minutes away from your books, 20 minutes, 30 minutes. You just need that time to recharge. You know, you just need that time to be refreshed. And you shouldn't see balancing as this negative thing, you know, that you're balancing, that you're not dedicated. Balancing is essential, you know, relaxing is essential, taking a break and just enjoying life. Smelling the roses, that is essential. So
yeah,
very wise.
Yes, definitely. So all of last year, I'm sure you had the question asked of you, as all the grade 12s, what are you going to be doing next year? And this is the next year that we spoke about last year. Okay, and I would like you to just last week when I spoke to you, you had a number of opportunities that you were still deciding on. I don't know if you want to start with that and just help people understand what you told me when I said, so what are you going to be doing with all this achievement that you've done? What were those opportunities that were open to you? Tell us if you're happy to share what the possibilities were.
So I applied to many different universities, and I will be doing pharmacy at Wits University, and it's really something that I'm looking forward to do. I really want to help people, you know, I really want to dispense medication to relieve the pain of people, and pharmacy is something that I really do see myself enjoying. And, you know, I get to create medicine. If I decide to go the industrial pharmacy route, I get to dispense medication to the unwell if I decide to go the hospital pharmacy route. So pharmacy next year at Wits, this year at Wits, sorry.
Okay. So it is still medical, because you the other possibility was medicine.
Yes.
Okay. So what changed between, like, why did you finally decide to go with the pharmacy? Because what I'm talking about here is, Blessing, what I'm talking about here is the possibilities that were open to you. That's what I loved about that conversation we had, was, you know, I can do medicine, or I can do pharmacy, and all those possibilities. That's what and that's been made possible by the grade 12 that you achieved, isn't it?
Yes, 100%.
Absolutely. And I know it's early days and you haven't started that studying yet at Wits, but are you motivated by the science of the pharmacy, or by what the science can do for people?
More so what, actually it's a little bit of both. It's both the science, you know, the biology, and also what the science can do for people. Yeah.
Okay. Absolutely. We need more of that. We definitely we need. That's wonderful. Because, you know, a lot of people there's a space where they don't think that an online student has the same opportunities that a grade 12 from a physical school does, or from a traditional school does. And that's what I'm really also trying to underline here, is that the opportunities for you are as open as any other student from any other school, and that your achievement is exactly that, and it holds its own in all of those spaces, and that tertiary education is definitely possible. I know we have many Teneo students achieving their dreams and going on to make magic and wonder and achieve wonderful things with what they've done. And we've certainly seen that in particular, this is now our second year. We've just finished our second year of an IEB school. We're heading into our third year on the 1st of February. And we have slowly seen that grow, the IEB school grow. And Paula, I'm wondering if you would like to jump in here and talk about, and it's still blessing, you're welcome to offer your opinion as a student, because I think that helps us too. It's important. But why do you think that there's been a growing, that growth in the IEB space at Teneo? What does that bring to students, and why are parents recognizing that as a way of getting the IEB NSC?
I really believe that our awesome teachers and the dedication and their subject expertise contributes greatly. And as Blessing mentioned earlier, that passion, there is so much passion that manages to come through the screen, and the teachers, awesome teachers, are able to share the knowledge, share the skills, interact with the students, and guide them through everything that they need to do to become prepared. And I think more and more, the understanding of how recorded classes, how recorded content, how being able to go back is one of the most fundamental things of learning is repetition. And I find it very interesting that you said on the 9th time with your maths, you would get it. The theory is you need to repeat at least 7 times before you start really knowing something. And I know there are lots of students who don't repeat, I mean, myself included, that many times to get to the learning process. I also think it's a wonderful, flexible option. And given what we've had with pandemics and everything else, there are certain areas of safety that do come into being in an online school as well, which also contributes to the growth. And I wanted to add something which I hope that you will find as well, Blessing, and that it's feedback we have had from other students. They say, wow, thank you, Teneo, for teaching us how to be independent, for teaching us how to manage our time, and for teaching us how to work online and with platforms. They've come back and they've said, what a wonderful step up that was when they got to varsity, that they didn't have to learn all of that from scratch. So I hope that is a positive for you as well, Blessing.
As well, Wits definitely uses the same learning management system. So you've got the inside track there, and they definitely, tertiary institutions have been moving to using online sort of tuition and the possibilities of that for a lot longer than it has been in the secondary school, you know, and so you definitely have an advantage in that space. I do believe that. And definitely that preparation, and as Paula has spoken about, how did that, were you just naturally self-disciplined? Did you learn more self-discipline from being in an online space? I don't know, how did that work for you if you were to examine what that journey was for you?
So I think I've always been disciplined, but learning online and, you know, working with Teneo has certainly increased that discipline. You know, it's very easy to say that you're motivated and to lack discipline. But, you know, with the different SBA courses that we had, everything was outlined so I could see when certain tasks were due and I would plan accordingly. I also managed my time better, you know, to maximize my learning. So I truly do believe that learning online with Teneo has helped my time management. It has increased my discipline. And WITS, it also uses the Canvas platform, and I've recently just registered. So I'm quite familiar with the platform, which I'm very thankful for. I wouldn't want to go into university nervous and not knowing how to use, you know, the platform.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, I remember my first year of university, and it was suddenly there was nobody telling me when things were due and when things had to be done. And discovering the night before my first history essay had to be submitted, that it had to be submitted. I still remember that all-nighter. And part of the, and it was part of the learning journey of going, oh, that's how it works. Because before you get there, you've had people guiding you and telling you and constantly reminding you that had to actually be done. And then having to own that process myself was at first quite a shock and quite an adaptation to what I needed to do. And I think that can contribute to a great deal of the dropout, the rate that happens at first year university, is that suddenly that freedom, that suddenly there is that freedom to just do what you think you need to do and then actually discover that there are requirements and that there are structures that you didn't know about, and then discovering them too late is definitely a bit of a shock.
It's an example of with freedom comes responsibility.
Yeah,
absolutely. And you know, we all do better when we own what we want to do. Not have it imposed, when it's an intrinsic thing that we flow with and we do, and we're drawn to it. We're not pushed into it. I think that definitely changes the shape of it and the face of it. So we're very proud of the 82% pass rate that our first IEB class achieved. And our Sakai class also did extremely well. We had 5 of the top 7 in the Sakai in the Sakai results, and that is also something we really want to just say to those students who achieved all of that. We're really proud of you as well, and that is no easy achievement. And the distinctions that they achieved. Paula, at this point, you know, what does it take to, so when people, we say we achieved 420 bachelor's passes, or with the IEB school, 60% of our matrics got a bachelor's pass. What does that actually mean? And I know people talk about bachelor's pass, and it can be that speak, you know, that teachers speak, that schools speak. What does it actually mean in this space?
The bachelor's pass is a pass that between, I should imagine, between the education department and between the universities, there's always communication that goes along. And they have come to an agreement on what is the minimum that a student needs to have the possibility to achieve at university. And that's what the bachelor's pass does. It puts the students into a category where they have achieved in their chosen subjects and in their compulsory subjects the minimum requirements that gives them that stepping stone, that gives them that opportunity to be able to achieve in the higher education. So when you achieve your bachelor's pass, it's not easy. it's definitely hard work. And it's opening that door so that you can get to a university. In the same way, the diploma pass is also opening a door so that you can get to the diploma pathway. And the diploma pathway can also lead to the bachelor pathway. So it gives the types of passes tell you where you can start for your tertiary education.
Yes. Okay. All right. And I think that it's also important to realize that each of those achievements is something that is important, because everybody has a particular aptitude, a particular interest, a particular skill in a field in which they should go. And we need to measure our expectations according to what we actually can achieve. And most important, never identify with the results or the results that you achieve. They are something that are, I think they need to be seen as external, because too many matrics internalize that too much and identify too closely with what they've done. It's not to say that you shouldn't celebrate that and be proud of yourself. And those were my words to Blessing last week, to be proud of herself for doing that. But I also know that somebody who achieved a diploma pass should also be very proud of themselves. You know, there's a large number of people who never ever try and never even attempt to get that. So
I think what you said in there, Jackie, that's really, really important, is celebrate yourself. And I think that's also something when we communicate to parents when it comes to subject choice, it's something that allow your children to choose the subjects that they enjoy and that they love, so that they can develop themselves. They can do what they're good at, what they enjoy, what motivates them, and celebrate who they are, and allow their talents to come to the foreground. It's very easy as a parent to say, you will do this, but actually it's not right.
Yes. So, Blessing, your message to the 2023 matrics.
My message would be to need to continually remind yourself that you have what it takes to succeed. You know, it's very easy to be motivated for something, but you need to remain disciplined. Also, stay persistent, relentless, and you will succeed. And also just to remember that success is different for everybody. So for some people, success is 13 distinctions. For others, it is simply passing matric, and it doesn't take away from anything, you know. Success is personalized and success is unique. So just to remember that always.
Thank you.
Lovely message. Thank you.
And Blessing, we wish you all the very best for this year and for the future. And please keep in touch. And we would love to know how you're doing. And one day I hope to walk into a pharmacy and see Blessing dispensing health to everybody.
That will be wonderful.
Right.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you, everybody who's joined us. It's been a wonderful time. Thank you for joining us. Okay. Good evening.
Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.